The big recruiting weekend is finally here.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are dapping it up on this huge Recruiting Friday with the Darrell Dapprich. We'll talk about these huge prospects that are coming in. Also sprinkle a little Auburn basketball news towards the end of the show. But Darrell, let's start things off with quarterback. I mean, it seems like things are heating up even more. We talk about it every time Juju Lewis's name is brought up and he comes to campus or his dad comes to campus. And at some point, Darrell, Hugh Freeze or someone on this staff is going to have to say, okay, look, this is fun that we're doing this. I know you're committed to USC. It's fun that you're seeing us. But at some point, you've got to commit to us or we've got to look somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that Auburn kind of did something similar to that in running back. I think there, if there was a situation with Alvin Henderson that's similar to this, is that you court somebody, they keep coming to your facility, they show genuine interest that they want to be around you, that they love your program, that they love the coaching staff. But then at some point, for your own sake of your program, you have to do what's best for your program and say, I've got to get somebody at the quarterback position. And if I keep screwing around and waiting on Juju Lewis, and then he ends up not committing to Auburn, what are my options left? We talk about a KJ Lacey, but still, you want a top-notch quarterback, and they'll be committing somewhere else, Zach, if Auburn plays the waiting game too long. So it's a really difficult balance. You don't want to rush a kid that you think could come to Auburn with that elite talent. He is a generational talent. Make no mistake about it. He's a program changer. So if you push too hard, and then he just ends up saying, okay, fine, I won't then you're kind of like, what? But if you just continue to play the dance, to play out the dance, and you're left holding the bag, it's a really delicate balance and difficult situation.
Because I'm sure if you're Hugh Freeze, like Auburn's NIL package for him, it seems to be extremely competitive based off of what we've heard. So if it's not him, think about what else you can do with all of that as far as building out this class. To me, I think if it's not Juju, it would be KJ Lacey. I think he would be the next guy up. Of course, he's committed to Texas right now, but it does seem like he's got a good relationship with his staff. So certainly we will see. But I don't know if it's going to be this weekend. I don't know if it makes sense for it to be this weekend. But at some point, this staff and Hugh Freeze specifically, they're going to have to say, okay, we've got to figure out what this is. We've got to figure out, like, are we dating? Are we still just talking to each other? Because it seems like you're still into them. Like, what are we doing?
What we don't know, and I'm not doing a scoop and throwing out this groundbreaking information, what is very feasible and possible that we don't know is that maybe behind the scenes, Juju Lewis has indicated to this staff that he is going to commit to Auburn.
Sure.
But he just hasn't done it publicly yet. So that's why they're willing. I mean, there is a legitimate scenario where Auburn continues to wait. And everyone's like, what are they waiting for? And they're waiting because they know silently he's committed and he is coming. So they're fine playing the waiting game and being patient and letting him announce when he wants to. That is another variable to this that we just don't know. Again, I'm not saying that happened, but I'm saying it's possible for something like that to happen. And in that case, you wait until the kid's ready to publicly say it and you're fine because you know you have it.
Yeah, still, like, I'm going to push back against that a little bit, Darrell, because if you're the head coach and you have a Juju Lewis type player in this hypothetical, silently committed, or you think he's about to either silently commit or whatever, you need that to happen quickly because these next 2 months are crucial when it comes to recruiting. And you want to have the whole, we've got the number one quarterback in the class in your pocket ready to kind of, show the world that Juju Lewis believes what we're doing. You should too. So in a normal situation, a normal recruitment, I'd be more open to that idea. This one, I don't think it doesn't benefit Auburn for him to do that. And it doesn't benefit Juju Lewis for him to do that.
Well, he is the crown jewel of your class the minute he announced that he commits. And you're right. He could probably bring elite talent. Once he says he's in the boat, there's going to be a lot of people swimming to the boat to get in. I get that. Again, though, you balance that with, okay, getting him to commit and early gets us a lot of other elite talent, but at the risk or the cost of losing him altogether, if you rush him, you probably err on the side of caution and say, take your time. I get that it would benefit us tremendously. You would go ahead and do it. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is getting you in this class. And however that pathway is for him, it's tough. Again, there are so many factors in this that could go wrong. You have to navigate this very delicately. I hate that. I hate that you have to walk around on eggshells in this day and age. But for this kind of player, you almost are willing to say, well, if I've got to wait at the expense of maybe a couple of players that might have come on board just to get him, maybe I do. I don't know. It's a long time till February, till December. So if this kid does wait until September to commit, there's still a lot of things that could happen with flip candidates that could get back in the boat once they announce that he's, once he announced coming to Auburn. All these elite kids could commit in the next month because he's not on board. And then he announces, let's say in September or August, and they go, oh, he is going to Auburn? Well, we're flipping. We're going to Auburn. But
it'd be a big deal.
It's a difficult navigation process on this one. It is. It's delicate. It's touchy.
Yeah. But once again, at some point you got to ask, okay, what else do you need? What do we not like here? What are we waiting for? And once again, it may not happen this weekend, but I don't know. I think it's going to happen at some point. It's a big weekend for the Auburn Tigers. Let's discuss some of these other big names. And hey, who could commit possibly this weekend? That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Darrell, can you imagine? Man, I need a part for my car, truck, or SUV. I don't want to go to like a physical location because they're probably not going to have it. It's going to cost too much. Nobody's going to help me. They're going to order it anyway. I just want to order it myself. Can you imagine there being an option to just fix all of that?
I really have missed the Can You Imagine lead. It's been about a week since I've been able to do this with you. I've missed that. So, I cannot imagine. And I think the underrated aspect of eBay Motors is they do carry a lot of parts that you can't find anymore in the general public. You put in your part number, you put in year, make, model, and go get it. And that's an underrated aspect of this. That's just it's really a lost art. It really is.
It's insane. It's insane what eBay Motors is able to do. Over 122 million parts. They have everything. That is every part ever, as far as I'm concerned. That is every part ever made. They're not going to have that. They're not going to have that in a physical location. They've got it at eBay Motors. So be sure to check them out. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Several big names for the Auburn Tigers outside of Juju Lewis. And of course, he is the biggest name. But Darrell Johnson, the linebacker that's committed to Alabama, Eric Winters, the safety from Enterprise that Auburn seems to be kind of narrowing in on. It seemed like it was an Auburn-Georgia race. Georgia thinks Auburn's kind of the leader now, it sounds like, which is a great situation to be in. Ton of commits for the Tigers that are already here. Herbert Scroggins, a Savannah, Georgia kid, an edge rusher that is listed all over the place as far as heights and weights and all of that based off where you look. But he might be on commit watch this weekend. There's a ton of names to look at here, Darrell.
Yeah, very intrigued by Duke Johnson, Darrell Johnson, the linebacker that's very athletic, that's committed to Alabama. A 4-star kid, but very, very much a fast riser. He's a kid that could get, higher ranked as these things come out. Eric Winters is a safety. Auburn talks about the secondary right now. Auburn's heavy on corner commits, too many safeties. I think the DS kid that committed last week could play safety, so that's one. But you want to get a couple more safeties. And Winters is really good, and he's from Enterprise, like you mentioned. Auburn staff very high on him. The Scroggins kid has kind of emerged from Savannah. The edge has some edge size, a frame that could really fill out. when you look at his length and his height. So that's one that's interesting. And then the tight end that you didn't mention, the Hollis Davidson kid that decommitted from Auburn, could get back in the boat, especially with a good visit. We see that happen a lot. There's a running back that's coming from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Dwayne Morris, committed to USC. Yep.
And that's interesting because Auburn's looking at some running backs and trying to fill out definitely need to take 2 running backs in this class at least. So it's a really nice hybrid, and this is what I love about of 8 visitors like this. I think there's 4 kids that are coming that are already committed, and there's 4 kids that are not committed. And I think that mixture is what you like to see, because the kids that are committed already, you want them to interact, talk to, hype up, get to know, fellowship with the kids that are not. It's a very good, really good recruiting tactic besides the coaches. Let the players recruit. And when you got 4 kids that are already committed that are coming back on campus, use them. Them.
And it looks like it's 5, Darrell. It looks like it's 5. I'm looking at the 247 list. It may be different elsewhere, but Jacaleb Falk, Devin Williams, Carday Smith, Ryan G, and Dante Core.
You're right.
But you're totally on it, though. I mean, Ryan G told Brian mentioned this on the show yesterday, where he saw him this weekend. He's like, yeah, I'm taking my official so I can talk to Juju. And I mean, that's, all of this is strategic. All of this is happening for a reason.
Yeah, it is. I love that. I love the combination of that. I love the mixture. And again, kids recruit kids. I mean, Walker White did a phenomenal job about that. And before him, Damari Alston, to me, set the standard. That joker was a really good beacon and ambassador for Auburn and how he brought kids into the fold. So he did a much better job recruiting than Brian Harsin did. Let's just call a spade a spade. He did.
Question.
Yeah, he should have gotten some award. Yeah, when they get those recruiting awards or whatever. So I think that's a trend that will continue. Very excited about this weekend. I think that Auburn could see a couple names pop. I think there's a couple kids on Recruit Watch that we could see Sunday, Saturday, go ahead and pop and pick up a couple more like they did last weekend. Just an exciting time as you're starting to build up, and a very crucial time, as you mentioned, as we're getting closer and closer to that window but Auburn's, I think, and I'd have to go back and double check, but where they are now with numbers is in a good spot compared to where they were last year as far as how many kids they have committed already. And so this class, we talked about it last year. Everyone said, the 2024 class is going to be good. Wait till the 2025 class. And yeah, it's kind of bearing out that way.
Yeah. I mean, this is normally like the time where Auburn has like 5 or 6 dudes, it seems like, and there's several other folks that are in kind of double digits, and that's where Auburn is now. So they're 9th on 3 with 14 total commits, and everyone in front of them has around 14 total commits with the exception of Notre Dame. They have 21. But outside of that, like normally Auburn is sitting in like 20-ish, and it's like, well, once they fill their class out, they'll shoot up.
Right.
And now they're keeping pace with everybody else, which is, I don't know, it's almost weird to see, honestly.
It's why so many years I would look at those ratings with such a grain of salt, because like Tennessee, we number 3 in the country, and it's because they had like 24 recruits, but the average star ranking was 3.
Right.
And you're like, okay, that's a little bit, misleading. Auburn is getting quality and quantity, and they're getting position of need. And so listen, when this class fills out and you start getting a couple running backs and you get the quarterback, and it gets to possibly be a top 5 class, what a tremendous, and then think about, it remains to be seen, but I'm very high on this portal class who Auburn brought in with the, wide receivers and along the defensive line. I think it's a nice mixture. And I think that combined with another year under the belt is going to be really, really neat to watch the growth of this program.
I think so too, man. I think so too. So yeah, there's a lot to like. And Auburn's average commit rating went down with Diaz because he was like unrated a few weeks ago, but that will change. Like he will shoot up rankings. He's too good not to. I just don't believe
Absolutely.
it. They folks just weren't aware of him until this coaching staff kind of uncovered him, and that's what you need. That's what you need. And I talked about this with Brian yesterday, but just the balance of, yes, let's go and get the guys that everybody wants. Clearly that's important. But let's also be first to some of these guys. Bryce Kane was kind of the biggest one like that in last year's class. It seems like Diaz is going to be that guy this year. Maybe it's just dude's named Bryce. I don't know. But all in all, like I think it's just a good situation to be in. The staff gets both sides of that, which is encouraging. There's no question about it. Auburn basketball heading to Duke for the SEC ACC Challenge. How exciting. What does that mean for the program? Next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Auburn will take part in the SEC ACC Challenge, which is great. I mean, if we all could pick who do we want to play, I think every Auburn fan, with the exception of a very small minority, we're all saying Duke. Some may say North Carolina. Sure, I get it. That's certainly an argument. But going to Duke, going to Cameron Indoor, it just doesn't get better than that as a basketball program that's on the rise.
It's a mecca. I mean, I love North Carolina. They got a ton of tradition, but
Sure.
the Dean Dome does not the same tingling sensation as Cameron Indoor is. It's just not. Okay,
It's iconic.
It's
iconic.
iconic.
Basketball.
It's the difference between Fenway Park and the Philly Stadium. I mean, it's iconic. It's a definite bucket list. If you're a college basketball fan, anybody, you just pull somebody off the street and say, "Give me the top 3 locations for college basketball." Cameron Indoor is going to be on their lips.
Yeah.
So for Auburn to get to play Duke, which is a very storied program, and then get to play them somewhere, when me and Lindsay did this show last week about all these venues that Auburn football would like to play at,
Sure.
I guarantee you, if we would have done a basketball segment, this is number one. This is number one.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. This is the Mecca. This is the place to go. You're playing the blue blood in Duke, and you're playing them in that place that's just a cathedral of college basketball. So that it goes to show you the respect that this program has now garnered. Because I'm going to tell you something. For the newbies that just discovered Auburn basketball in 2019, and we can tell sometimes who they are on social media.
Which is fine. You're welcome to watch the show too.
No. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying that there's this whole, of what it was like. There's a forgetfulness of. There was a time when the Big 12 SEC Challenge was played, and Auburn was left out completely.
That's right.
There was like 3 schools from the SEC that didn't get to participate, and Auburn was one of them.
About that. Yeah.
And then they slowly went to like getting Virginia Tech and some of these matchups that weren't so exciting, but they were in it. They were participating, right? Now you're participating and you're going and playing a blue blood and you're playing at their place. It really goes to show you the growth. It's
one of the headliners. It's one of the headlining matchups.
It is.
The whole thing.
It really is, and especially with this roster that Auburn's going to trot out there.
Right. I think it's so fitting, Darrell, that this is the year Auburn is going to play Duke and Cameron Indoor, because it feels like we're all in. It feels like we're all in with the roster, all of these seniors doing everything we can to get Janai and Dylan and Chad Baker Mazar, everybody to come back, and also get some really high impact guards to come and help us out. All the chips, they're at the middle of the table. And when you're all in, you want to play the best. And Auburn's playing Duke on the road.
Well, the other thing about that is, let's not make no mistake, it's an intimidating environment. It is. And some schools will go in there and some players will go in there and their eyes will get big and they will not perform.
Janai is going to love it.
Yes.
He is going to love it.
There are Auburn players on this roster that are set, that are built for the big stage and the big moment. 10 seniors. So if you're ever going to take a roster and a team into Cameron Indoor, I definitely want to take a team that's got 10 seniors that aren't going to. Now, I get it. They still haven't played there before, but still, you're more likely to not see a team shook or intimidated that's got 10 seniors that has played 4 or 5 years of college basketball than you are a young team that's very talented but it's just new. So I think that it's a perfect time. It's a perfect time, and it's going to be a ton of eyes on that basketball game, a ton of eyes. And I think by the time they play it on December 4th, there's going to be some things established from an Auburn standpoint, having played in some big tournaments, abroad and some
You
things
think
like
they'll
that.
be ready by this? So I'm a little concerned with it being too early. Like, will Auburn have really meshed yet, especially with new guards?
Well, I don't know. You might know this. I just don't have it when that invitational, the Maui Invitational is. I don't know if that's after or before. I think it might be after.
Oh, I would have. Let me look.
Look and see, because I tell you the hoops giving thing should be before.
Sure.
And if they play, who they're rumored to be playing as far as a non-conference opponent from the Big Ten, allegedly, in that, then that's going to be a big game on a neutral floor that they'll be ready to get going. So, I don't know. I think they will be. I think they'll have enough games under their belt, and they'll have played some tough competition. It won't just be a really easy out-of-conference schedule before they get Duke.
Yeah. I don't know why this just isn't coming up. I guess it's not all finalized, so it's not on their website.
Yeah. I just know some of the participants, pretty big schools in that one. And then
the Maui Invitational is huge. Yeah.
Yep. And so if it's before that, they'll be definitely primed and pumped and ready to go.
Yeah. Gosh, I hate how long this is taking me to find it.
It's all right.
Oh, well.
But
okay.
All in all, big deal, especially like I said before, when Auburn used to be left out of these things and it was kind of a little bit of a laughing stock. Auburn's not even good enough to play in an invitational where they leave 2 or 3 teams out.
Right.
And I can remember that being a sore. And I remember Bruce Pearl mentioning, we won't get left out again. We'll be playing in this thing every year. And in fact, at some point we'll be headlining it. And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, they're right.
The Oklahoma game was pretty good a couple years ago when they came in and played at Neville. That was a pretty nice game, pretty exciting.
Maui's before.
There you go.
In November.
So you've got Maui, you've got Hoopsgiving, which again is in Atlanta on a neutral floor. And some of the rumors are Purdue, Ohio State, whatever. We don't know, but it's not going to be, it's going to be a Big Ten school or somebody significant. I think that'll get them ready to. I mean, the competition in Maui is unbelievable. So just playing a couple games there under your belt, they'll be ready. December 4th will be it'll be a good time. Good time.
Yeah.
On that.
I'm all for stacking there's no downside to stacking your non-conference. We've seen other teams do it and struggle. I mean, like we saw a few years ago, Alabama's non-conference was insane and they lost a bunch of games and they were forgiven for it. Like, I don't see the downside of stacking your non-conference schedule. So I'm super pumped. I'm super pumped for the basketball slate this year for sure. So Darrell, thank you for doing this. Darrell's been traveling all day. So thank you for,
you're welcome.
Still doing this. Really, really appreciate it. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, DAP6410, Wednesdays and Fridays right here on Locked On Auburn.
Yeah, please like the video. Please subscribe. We will see you on Monday. This has been Locked On Auburn.